There's still 16 months until Americans go to the polls, but the 2020 presidential campaign is already in full swing. Donald Trump is seeking a second term, and more than 20 Democrats are competing to take him on. Former Vice President Joe Biden leads the pack, with other big-name candidates like Bernie Sanders not too far behind. But what about some of the lesser-known contenders who don't have the financial backing or establishment support of the frontrunners? Our next guest is Democratic hopeful Wayne Messam. He's the mayor of Miramar, Florida, and he entered the race proposing to cancel student debt, close the wealth gap, and tackle climate change. But he hasn't been able to get his message out to as many people as he would like after being excluded from the first Democratic debate. Why? And will he make it into the next one? Well, let's ask Wayne Messam himself. The Democratic presidential candidate joins me now from Miami. Good to have you on the program, Wayne. The fact that you didn't make the first debate, does that suggest that your chances at becoming president are sort of, 0 to 1% maybe?
Well, I'm not calculating percentages, and thank you for having me on your program. But obviously, the goal is to make the debates. When you make the debates, you have an opportunity to share your ideas with millions of Americans that may be viewing the Democratic debates. But as you know, the election cycle and experiences in America with these campaigns, we have many tools like social media and our trips to various early states that can keep us in the running. So as a lesser-known candidate, I'm going on programs like yours, as well as other media outlets to get our voice out.
Why didn't you make the cut for the debate?
Well, there are DNC requirements to have a certain number of donors as well as national polling. Being one of the candidates that did not get a lot of the media exposure in terms of features on, let's say, CNN town halls where they had the opportunity to be viewed by millions of Americans, my campaign still moves forward. And when you contemplate having 2 of the 3 national polls under my belt with grassroots effort, it just goes to show that anyone in America can make a push. So I'm just one poll short of making it to the July debates, and we're optimistic that we'll hit that threshold.
Okay, wishing you all the best with that. Now, this is all going to be about Trump. He's seeking a second term. Tell me, why isn't a Joe Biden or a Kamala Harris a better bet at trying to take down Donald Trump from the left?
Well, I actually disagree. Obviously, there's some element in terms of changing our current president. But what Americans want to know is what a presidential candidate is going to do for them and how they will improve their everyday quality of life. Obviously, there's some element in terms of who Americans feel can beat Donald Trump. But I think the candidate that is able to resonate to most Americans, addressing their issues with real ideas that can counter the policies and the directive of the current administration will be the candidate that will be most successful against our current president.
Something that's central to a lot of stuff that we cover on this particular show has to do with migrants and refugees. I've watched a few interviews where you talk very passionately about being the son of immigrants from Jamaica. So as an immigrant son, I'm guessing you're pro-immigration. Tell me what your immigration policy will be like.
Well, my immigration policy would be one that will have a comprehensive solution, one that is not just lip service, one that will not only respect immigrants, but value immigrants, because America was founded by the migration of immigrants that have added so much value to our American society. I think once we have a process where we can provide a pathway to citizenship to the nearly 12 million undocumented immigrants that are here in this country right now, and as a nation, respect and honor our current laws in terms of asylum seekers that are coming to our borders to seek asylum in America, we should not demonize them and criminalize them. And my administration would not have that policy. In addition, my administration would work with our southern border nations to help build their economies, help with their criminal justice process so that everyday living conditions in those nations can improve, because that is why many of of the immigrants that are coming to our borders are seeking safer habitat, safer situations here in America because they're in fear of their lives. And if we can help those nations stabilize security in their countries, people don't want to live their birthplace because that's where their culture is, their heritage is. So there's many policies that we would do to be actually the opposite of what this current administration is doing right now.
And talking about what the current administration is doing right now, are those facilities on the border concentration camps?
No, I won't say that they're concentration camp. It's just a result of the overwhelming impact of the number of immigrants that are coming to our border, and those facilities just cannot have the capacity to handle them. So implementing my plan, as I suggested earlier, we will be able to reduce those numbers of individuals that are actually coming to our borders to seek either asylum or to seek a better way of life. America has always been a country that has welcomed immigrants, and it only has been under this administration. You know, as a mayor in the city of Miramar, we actually have an ICE facility in our city. And before this administration, no one ever knew that facility was there because individuals who were out of status would just come and check in at our facility in the city of Miramar to be in compliance with their court orders. But now these individuals who used to check in just once a year now have to check in 3 times per year. They're coming with their families and hundreds of individuals. And it's a humiliating process. As a city, we can't usurp federal government, but we had to force them to make better accommodations. And I would have that passion in the White House to respect immigrants and to have a land of law that will allow those who can qualify to come into our country.
Right. But just to be absolutely clear, you would consider the facilities as they are to be concentration camps?
I would not consider them to be concentration camps. I would definitely say that currently right now it is unacceptable of the conditions where we have separations of families, children not being able to use facilities, brush their teeth, wash their faces, and all the things that we're hearing coming out of these private facilities, as well as the other facilities that are housing the individuals. And it's just deplorable, and it's unacceptable, and it's un-American. And as President of the United States, I would be convicted, as well as have the political will to ensure that we have the resources to properly accommodate individuals that come to our country.
Right. We heard a little bit from you about what you would like to do to address the root causes of the migrant crisis, working with Central and South American countries to grow their economies and so on. Have you thought much about your foreign policy beyond the Americas?
Yes. In fact, I think what is missing in this current administration is that America has lost its reputation and its perception of being an honest broker across the country, across the world, actually. You know, as a global leader, America, obviously, we are looking to protect our national interests, whether it's security or economic, but we know that we're not alone. We have to have strong allies across the country. And when America speaks, it should be respected and regarded. Our word should be our bond. We should not be unnecessarily putting our thumb on the scales in certain situations across the globe in one scenario and then reversing in another. You know, this current administration has befriended our long enemies and as well as made enemies of our long friends and allies. And I would be focused on restoring and healing many of those relationships because as the world has become more of a global society, Wayne, we are all on this planet together.
Yeah, certainly. Can you give me an example of that? Because this is interesting. And this could be a little test run for you if you make it in July. We're an international channel. Good to hear your foreign policy here. So if they talk foreign policy and you make it to the table in July, can you give me an example of what you don't like of the president's foreign policy? Making enemies of former allies and allies of former enemies. Who are you talking about?
Well, specifically, there's no secret. There's been conversations about Russia's impact on our prior 2016 elections. When you talk about what's going on between North Korea, when you talk about how we've walked away from the Iran deal and now there's escalation that is taking place, one of the things I would do is I would have a very strong State Department, a strong Secretary of State, and I would listen to my advisors and take that into consideration. I would not make knee-jerk reactions or remarks through Twitter. We would look to have diplomacy to work and solve our issues, and to leverage the relationships that we've had over centuries with nations to ensure that we have stability globally.
Okay. The mayor of Miramar, Florida, who's running for president, Wayne Messam. We wish you all the best, and thank you for joining us.